Well, you and we all have something in common, and it's our bodies, because we have them. And today we are going to honor our bodies. We're seeking to honor our bodies. And so as we do, I'm going to invite you to do something. I want you to, if you can, close your eyes, if you can, just to allow all of your senses to focus for a minute. I'm going to invite you to gently turn your attention to your body. Settle into a comfortable position. That might mean shifting in your chair a little bit. As one of my yoga instructors told me one time, move the flesh out from underneath so that you might really, truly sit. Notice your shoulders. And if you can, gently pull them away from your ears. Notice in between your eyebrows. And if you can, imagine pulling them apart. Maybe raising them up. Release your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Spread your fingers as wide as you can. And then do the same with your toes. Do it again. Return your attention to your body. It is the first physical gift you ever received. This body of yours, is the physical location where you meet and know God. There is no other option for you or for me on this earth. There is no other physical location that you might meet God in. Keep attending to your body for a few more sentences. God created your body to be a delightful work of art and biology. There are things happening in you right now that you will never be able to consciously understand. There are things happening in your body that you will never be able to consciously control. Here you are, a mess of wonder and guts. And you have right now the ability to perceive the world through this body and also to perceive God. I'm going to invite you now to just open your awareness up a little bit beyond yourself. But keep attention to your body if you can. You may open your eyes. You may settle and wiggle a little. You have this wonderful body. And yet we can be so distant from our bodies. We can think that they are just simply machines that help us achieve intellectual ascent, spiritual ascent, even physical ascent. That they are just things that we use to get things done in the world. And we get frustrated when we can't get things done the way we used to or the way we want to. And then we find ourselves eking a little bit more out of these bodies. And then blaming them when they don't work the way that we think they should. And then we ignore our bodies. Our bodies might be giving us warning signals. They might be telling us something. Your toe hurts. They might be speaking something about our comfort in a certain scenario or our fears that we didn't know we had. But so often we just distance ourselves from those feelings, from our actual body. And being distant from our bodies, I'm arguing, can cause us to become distant from God. By design, these bodies have a way of talking to us, of telling us things. You know when you feel joy and you have that leap in your tummy? Your body is doing something for you to experience joy. Or when you've laughed so hard that your abs hurt, or you're like, that hurts so good. You've experienced that. I hope you've experienced that at least once in your life, the laughter that feels, that hurts so good. Or maybe you've experienced fear in your body, or loneliness in your body. Maybe you know grief in your body or sadness. You feel that a tightness in your chest, a lump in your throat. Your tummy gets all in knots, we say. These feelings that we have in our body, this body that we have that can experience the world, this body is not a liability. And the experiences we have in our body are not liabilities. These experiences allow us to live fully and also within our limits. And if we view our bodies as a liability, then we actually don't pay attention to what's really going on. If we think that the knot in our tummy is just something to ignore, then we never listen to what it's actually telling us. If we don't let ourselves feel leaps of joy, can we ever really experience joy? Viewing our bodies and the things that go along with them as liabilities is a problem. I'd like to say that when we fail to give attention to our bodies will do some things to help us pay attention. Maybe you've experienced this before. I'd like to call them the 3 Bs. I borrowed this from another pastor friend, and I really appreciate her 3 Bs. If we're not paying attention to our body is going to make us pay attention. And it does it this way: by burnout, through bitterness, or through bad bowels. You might want to write those down and pay attention to those later. You might want to put that up someplace. I think the bathroom might be a good spot. The body has a way of getting our attention. Burnout, a deep level of exhaustion, where you feel like anything and everything is a struggle, when you aren't able to function the way you know you're supposed to. Anyone experienced burnout before? You can just nod. Or you could raise your hand or stand. We can do that too. Or there's bitterness. That terrible grouchiness. Grouchiness that goes beyond waking up on the wrong side of the bed, where just everything and anything makes you grouchy. Or where you're just functioning in frustration or resentment or hostility. And then lastly, those bad bowels. That churning in your belly that you experience with unknowns or unknown unknowns. If you've experienced it, you know what I'm talking about. That deep unsettledness, that anxiety. They say that neuroscience and our physical gut have a lot of interplay. And so if we just ignore these bad bowels and laugh about them, sometimes we're ignoring something very important. We have a biblical example of someone who ignored their body and failed to pay attention to their body for a very long time. And you may think, I just love this guy. I love this guy because he's so honest. In 1 Kings 19, we hear about this guy named Elijah, all right? You may know that Elijah was an important prophet. A prophet did the work of hearing from God and listening to the people and telling God what the people were saying. And the work was intense, all right? The work was so intense for Elijah. He had worked so hard and worked so diligently that he experienced the 3 B's. He was completely burned out. He was full of bitterness, and I think he had bad bowels. Though the Bible doesn't really tell us about that. I wish that the Bible would, but let's use our imagination, okay? Elijah is so exhausted that when he comes to the end of his rope and he says to God, "Oh, take my life. I've had enough." It's not a joke, actually. He ran out. He burned out. He was bitter. He was hangry. Oh, hangry. That is its own emotion, physical and otherwise. He ran out. He said, "I've had enough." His body was keeping the score, and he wants relief from his symptoms, and so he just says, "That's it. It's over." And I want to pick up reading 1 Kings 19, starting in verse 5. Actually, verse 4. Elijah says, "I've had enough, Lord. Take my life. I'm no better than my ancestors." Whew. And then he lay down under a bush and he fell asleep. I've never slept under a bush, but I can imagine that's a good time. And then it says, all at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." And Elijah looks around, and there by his head is some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. And then he eats and he drinks, and then he takes another nap, Elijah. This angel, sent by God, does not come and tell Elijah, "This is the good stuff you're doing. Remember in your soul what God was up to." No, that angel says "Shh. You need to take a nap. Here, eat something. Have some water. And get ready to walk. And Elijah needed 3 things in his body to be restored. It's a beautiful acronym, NEW. If we are to be renewed in our bodies, we need 3 things. A nap, to eat, and to walk. Will you pull that slide up for me, Daryl? Thank you. Elijah needed 3 things, NEW. He needed a nap. He needed good rest. He needed to eat. He needed to nourish his body with the things that it needed. Maybe none of this is new to you, but I'm telling you it's going to revolutionize your life in a little bit. And he also needed to walk. He needed to move his body. Scientific research confirms that all 3 of these things, sleep, you've read sleep studies, eating, also incredibly important, obviously, and that walking, specifically bilateral movement, which means one side of your body's working, then the other side of your body's working. These things create a pattern of healing for us. It is possible. Your body has been given the gift to be restored within itself with these 3 things: sleep, eating the right things, and bilateral movement. It's phenomenal. This may not be new information, NEW, but I do want to offer this in a new context, in a spiritual context. And so, let me ask you 3 spiritual questions. How many nights a week are you getting at least 8 hours of sleep? Now, I realize I'm asking this on Daylight Saving Sunday, and so that's just not fair. It's just not fair. And I also admit that I did not get 8 hours of sleep last night, not even close. So, something to work towards. How many nights a week are you getting at least 8 hours of sleep? Maybe you need a nap. Second question, how many meals do you eat in a day sitting down? Not in front of your computer, not in front of your phone. How many meals a day do you eat sitting down? There's a huge correlation between bodily health and the number of times you eat sitting down in a day. My last question, spiritual question. How often are you able to move your body as your body allows? I acknowledge that our bodies are very finite and sometimes very frustrating things. And so movement in a body that doesn't always work the way you would hope a body would can be frustrating. But we all have access, most of us have access, I should say, to movement, some kind of movement in our body. And so how often are you able to move your body as your body allows? Elijah, he needed a serious breakthrough, and it came by way of three things: a nap, a meal, and some movement. And God's kindness and care was not something just for his soul. Well, why don't you pray more, Elijah? Why don't you just get yourself to church? Where are your spiritual disciplines? No. The angel says, go to sleep, eat some food, move your body. God's kindness and care can come to us by way of our bodies. So I invite you to turn your attention to your body again. You might remember your shoulders. Are they close to your ears? Maybe pull them down a little bit. Are your eyebrows coming together because you're confused about some things, or you're worried, or you're frustrated? Try and pull them apart. Release the tongue from your tongue from the roof of your mouth. And as you do those things, can you wonder about your body? This body that 1 Corinthians 6:19 says is a temple of the Holy Spirit. The Spirit isn't templed in the soul. No. It finds its place in your body. Care for our bodies, what we call self-care, or a part of self-care, is a spiritual thing. It is a discipleship thing. Listening to what your body is telling you is a prayer practice. And God might want to say something. God might want to say something to you through your exhaustion, or your achiness, or your grouchiness, or your joy, or your settledness, or your sleepiness. Ruth Haley Barton writes that all aspects of life in the body have the potential to become places where we meet and know God in unique ways. When your knees aren't working, when your stomach hurts, when the hair stands on the back of your neck. All aspects of life in the body have the potential to become places where we meet and know God in unique ways. So, I'm going to lead you through a practice, if I may. And it will be a practice of you trying as best you can to pay attention to your body. And this may be very new. And I just invite you, to experience the newness of it and wonder what God might be doing with you and your body. So, I'm going to invite you to turn towards your table and to turn inwards if you're in a pew, to kind of take up some space, if you will, if that means getting away from that end that really bothers, the end of the pew, if it's blocking you in. I want you to feel like you have some space. You may stay seated. It may help you to stand. You may even need to walk around. And there's plenty of space to do that. And so I invite you to just find that comfortable space as you will. There is complete freedom for you, okay? If you get up and leave, I'm going to trust that God is walking with you because you need the W of walk. We're going to hold on to those, Daryl, so you can keep the N-E-W up. And so I'm going to invite you now to gently turn your attention to your body again. Settle into that comfortable position. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. pull those eyebrows apart. Release your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Spread your fingers and your toes very wide as they will go. You may need to take some deep breaths or even some quick breaths so that you might draw your attention back into this body that you have. God, we invite you to speak to us through our bodies this morning. I want you to notice how you feel about this life in your body. Are there things you're grateful for? Are you embarrassed by your body? Do you enjoy it? Are there things you're disappointed in? When was the last time you were surprised by your body's ability or frustrated by its inability? Some things may be drawn to your attention that you were not attentive to before, and you may need to feel those out in your body. Maybe even holding the places that you feel embarrassed by or frustrated by. Maybe honoring the places that you enjoy, that you're grateful for. And maybe even doing that through touch. Continuing with that, I want to ask, what is the condition of your body these days? How have you been caring for it? And maybe there's an area that needs extra care these days. Maybe you need to focus on napping, developing patterns for good rest. Or maybe you need to focus on eating, nourishing your body with the things that it needs. Or maybe you need to walk. Move your body regularly. Ask God, is there one that you want me to attend to for the next bit? Moving through that question, wonder with God, is there anything that my body is trying to tell me that I haven't noticed yet? Am I experiencing tension or discomfort anywhere? Are there medical issues that require my attention? Am I capable of something that I haven't experienced yet? Keep listening. You may want to let your mind go off to another place. This is really difficult work. But keep listening for just a little longer. Shoulders pulling away from the ears, eyebrows pulling apart, tongue released from the roof of my mouth, fingers and toes spread out wide. God, if there is anything that we have kept outside of our awareness, would you let it come fully into our awareness and your presence right now? And when it comes, would we welcome it? Not having to make sense of it, just say thank you for being here. Bless the Lord, O my body, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Amen. You may need to spend some more time. I do not want to rush us too quickly. You may need to spend some more time on your own with this, your very own body. And so you may take the time as you want. And if you can, if you would like to, I'm going to invite you into table groups, pew groups, however you want to find a group, if you would like. If it's more helpful to you to have individual time to process more of these practices, that practice is on the back of the card that's either on the table or in the pew. You can look over that again, ponder it again, pay attention to what ignited something in you. If you are ready to join with more bodies in conversation, not just your own body, we have 3 questions for you to reflect on as a table. When you are having conversation at a table, I want to encourage you to listen to all who are gathered there. Which means if you find yourself to be a talker, this may be a time to certainly share, but to also tune your ears to what other people have to say, or ask some questions to draw things out of them. I also acknowledge this is quite a tender place, can be quite a tender place. And so if that feels intense or vulnerable, you may own that within your body, and you get to choose. You get to have agency on what is shared and how you want to participate in that. We're not forcing you into anything. The 3 questions for reflection today that you can share in conversation at your table are, I want you to share about what it was like for you to pay attention to your body. And then maybe what area of care your body needs or would like to focus on. Napping, eating, walking. And then lastly, are you surprised by anything that came up in God's presence? Something you noticed or had your attention drawn to that you've never noticed before. All right, these questions will be up here on the screens. We do have a spot out in the narthex for those who are hearing impaired. It's quieter out there, so they might have good conversation together without the cacophony of noise that goes on in here. So you're more than welcome to find that space. After a short period of time, I'll give you about 7 minutes, maybe 8 if I'm feeling generous, and then I will draw you back together. So feel the freedom to just have that conversation and reflect together. May God be in between all of us as we share together. Feel the freedom.